Welcome to Inner Niña Podcast, embracing your inner child while leading with strength. This is a space for Latina women and beyond who are ready to break generational cycles and lead from a place of wholeness. Together, we will reconnect with the little girl inside, the one who dreamed big, felt deeply, and longed to be seen, and honor her as we step in fully into our power. Join me, Maria Benitez, for heartfelt reflections and empowering conversations about identity, healing, culture, and leadership. Each episode invites you to embrace your inner niña while leading with authenticity, compassion, and courage. Welcome back to Inner Niña. Today we welcome a very dear friend and hermana, Martha Cardenas-Singh. Martha made history in 2024 as the first Latina elected to the Imperial County Board of Supervisors. A long resident of El Centro, she previously served on the City Council and as mayor, championed economic development and key community projects. As supervisor, she focused on infrastructure, affordable housing, sustainable growth, and regional transportation. And she also serves on the National Board of MANA, a national Latina organization. Welcome, Martha. Thank you for joining us today and being part of our Inner Niña journey. How are you today, sweetie?
Excellent. Thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity to allow us to have a very fruitful and amazing discussion.
I am so honored to have you here today and telling us about your background, the things that you are working on. So give us a little bit of intro.
Wonderful. Well, first of all, I'm very proud to be Latina. I am Mexicana, very proud of my heritage, and most importantly, having the opportunity to share my story. So I am very proud. I am a daughter of a Vietnam veteran. My mother was born and raised in Mexico and then came to the United States. My mother and my father married, and therefore allowing us to really have the bicultural experience. I'm a mother to two adult daughters who are both married. So I have two son-in-laws. Each of my daughters have a boy and a girl. So I have 4 grandchildren. That is very special and dear to my heart. And then on top of that, of course, I have the opportunity to be a sister. I'm very fortunate. I have 2 brothers. I have a sister and just a love for my family and my community. And that's who I am.
So a little bit of background on how I know my gorgeous Martha hermana here. We both are part of MANA. And we met when I first joined the organization with MANA San Diego. She's part of the MANA, the Imperial chapter. And we collaborate really well because we are part of the same Western region. And they do incredible work. And they have a lot of fun as well. So one of the things that is really fun is how the 3 chapters in the West region support each other. And anytime we have an event, we try to join each other's events. And she was actually part of the executive board. So we got together, and as well as the regional board. She recently joined the MANA National. So now we serve on the MANA National board together. So our fun goes from the local chapters, the regional chapter, and now the national chapter. And she's a lot of fun. So give credit where credit's due. Since we know how this podcast came about, we got together back in October in our national retreat. Inspiration, she was motivating me. She's like, you need to do this, you need to do that. I came back from the retreat and I'm like, she's onto something. And I had 2 of them doing that retreat, encouraging me. So I have to give her credit, because she's the one that kind of encouraged me to pursue this project. Martha, she wears a lot of hats. So I want to have her explain all the multiple hats that she wears, because she's a wife, a daughter, a mother, a grandmother, but she has a lot of other hats that are really impressive. Tell us about the work that you do, not just for the city that you work in, but a lot of the volunteer work that you do.
Excellent. I just want to take a moment, if you'll allow me, reflecting on the conversation that we had when we were at the national conference, and we talked about the importance of having a voice and the importance of having representation. And I think that that's so important as young ladies and women across our nation really take a look at one, having conversations, but most importantly, having a safe place that allows for these discussions to take place and to really give it life. And so for that, gran amiga, I congratulate you for affording us this space to be able to have this discussion. We have to feel proud of who we are, what we look like, how we sound, and most importantly, the impact and the difference that we make in our communities. And right now, unfortunately, for many reasons, we are feeling a little apagadas is the word that I'm using. And so I hope that with these podcasts that allows us to one, connect, two, to refuel each other, and most importantly, to know that we're here to support one another. And so I congratulate you for stepping out of your comfort zone. You know, it's always scary when we try something new, but know that it's important. And I thank you for this space and this opportunity to have that discussion. So, yeah, one of the reasons, that I chose to run for elected office is just exactly that. When I looked at my governance, in regards to who represented me here in my community, no one sounded like me, no one looked like me, and that was concerning for many reasons. One, when decisions were being made, whether it's funding allocations for housing, for mental health services, for quality of life, no one at that table or that representation had really a conversation with our community, our Latino community. And so I thought it was important. I did take a leap of faith like many of us do. It's scary, but fear can really keep us subdued and quiet and not allowing us to take on those challenges. And so, like you, I really pushed myself outside my comfort zone to really have those deep and honest conversations about women who struggle and can't find employment because they don't have the ability to pay for childcare, or they don't have a vehicle that allows them to be able to drive to work, or having to depend on local transportation with a very limited schedule in regards to routes. And so those are the very basic conversations that we need to have with our community when we're in an elected position, to really understand when we're voting or allocating dollars that we're really taking a look at the entire population and not just the small or the minority of individuals that would access those services. So that's what was important. So I rolled up my sleeves and I started having discussions with community members about what were barriers that they were seeing in their community. And that, opens up discussions that many times people don't feel comfortable or safe to have, but you have to have them. And so when people are felt that they're unheard or that there's inequity in their community, you have to be able to, one, gain their trust, and two, be able to have those conversations and then hold ourselves accountable when that information has been given to us and it just doesn't, get put on a notepad, when we're taking notes, that someone really, when we're sitting on a dais or when we're sitting in community groups, that we're saying, hey, are we providing affordable childcare? Are we providing affordable transportation? Do we have after school programs that can help children feel safe in an environment where they're not coming home to an empty home because mom or dad is working? And so those are the conversations that we need to have. A lot of the work really takes place with just listening to our community.
So you have a milestone. Actually, there's a special thing that happened to you in 2024 as a supervisor in your role. Tell us what accolade that was.
Yes. So in its 117-year history here in Imperial County, I was elected as the first Latina to serve as a Imperial County Board of Supervisor. So talk about breaking a glass ceiling. It was a moment that not only was celebrated for me, right, personally, it was greater than that, was that women, Dina women, worked hard to be sitting at the table in which decisions are being made for a county. So, yeah, I have to say that it's been a lifetime for me being very involved in my community. Just kind of begins to develop. My girls then grew up and left to college, and then it allowed me to continue to work on my passions. And that's why I always tell everyone, many times we join or attend a membership mixer, and then you'll find commonalities with individuals, whether that's, in those conversations, maybe it's, that we're looking at school safety and that's important to you. And so you'll be able to meet people that have the same vision and the same advocacy as you. Maybe it's individuals or meeting women that are very concerned about our finances and being able to finance, for the future, financial planning. And so it's important that when you see a community event, whether that's a networking mixer or a meeting that's open to the public, it's always great to attend. And sometimes what you'll realize is maybe you had an interest, but
Mhm,
as you
mhm.
hear other individuals share that same interest, you'll find that commonality. And I think it just begins to fuel your passion. And we just begin to learn from each other. And so I say to everyone, when you see those opportunities or it might be of interest to you, attend. And if it's good for you, take an amiga because providing that's also providing an opportunity for someone else. So sometimes you go to a meeting or a mixer and you find that it's something that you're interested in, or maybe it might be an opportunity where you're like, I'm not quite there yet. Maybe I want to invest my time into something else. And that's okay. The most important part are the ability to have a connection.
100%, I believe that, and testament to that is when I went to our last retreat. As you know, on a personal, I was struggling with something that I was dealing with, and leaning on the ladies in our board, you and the rest of the ladies, to kind of uplift me when I was feeling really down. Not only encouraging me to try something that continues with my passion, but I left that retreat like really re-energized. I felt the support and the love during those days that we were there collaborating. And I left like with your little voice in my head, and along with a couple others. I'm like, Maybe I need to do something that's productive, is fueling my passion." And out of that retreat, I got re-energized, and so it goes to back what you're saying. When we get together, we don't know what we're going to get out of it. Sometimes we need this. This is a community. And part of this platform is when they hear the stories, they can find something they can relate.
And so, with that, we have to have those conversations. One, to provide information, which is so vital right now, information about individual rights, and also validation. Validation that they have worth, value, and that they have a voice. And the third is to make sure that they understand that they do have someone who cares and can advocate for them. And those are the conversations that we have to have. It's easy to lead when times are easy. It's when times are difficult that we really have to show our resiliency, to really put ourselves out there and have those conversations.
Absolutely. And one of the things I think I admire about you, and it goes to by your leadership style, is you're not leading from behind the desk. You will see her rolling up her sleeve. If you get to see her.
My profession is I work with low income, first generation college going students. So I come from the lens of an educator. And so we were talking about scholarships and about the cost of college and how difficult it is for many of our Hispanic students to be able to go to college, attend college because they can't afford, tuition and everything else that's involved. And so they have the ganas, they have the academics, and they have the support of their family, but they lack the financial ability to pay for college. And so, in having those conversations with Mana de Imperial Valley, I saw that it was a passion to ensure that we started raising funds to be able to award our Latino students the opportunity with a scholarship that could help fill in a lot of the financial barriers that many of us experience. And so that was important to me. And that was the connection I had with Mana. And from there, you get involved and you start really understanding the mission and the purpose of Mana. And then it just begins to be part of who you are and the importance and the impact that the Mana organization has in the community. And I fell in love with the purpose and the mission of Mana. And then it also held me to a standard to make sure that that I also paid it forward. And paying it forward meant, fundraising and helping students fill out a college application, filling out their FAFSA application, filling out a scholarship application, because there isn't somebody at home, if you're a first generation student that can walk you through the process. So I felt that what I had received was
Mhm,
important to give it forward. And Mana just afforded me that space to be able to
mhm.
to give back.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I got really excited because I mentioned she is now serving her first term as national. So she gets to be with me were like, okay, I got excited. I'm like, Martha, we need to do this. She's big on education, and so am I, because like we see the impact and how much it changes. So one of the things that when we got out of the retreat is like, okay, we're brainstorming together. How do we start creating a collegiate chapter? How do we grow the organization? Because we see the benefits. We see when we have the conversations with the family members and say, thank you for helping my daughter. And so the light that shines in their faces when they see their daughter graduating and heading off to college and she's the first in her family, that really warms our heart because we're mothers, right? So we also understand that creating opportunities for the ones that follow. So one of the things that we've been working together is like, okay, we're gonna how do we grow this? And so we've been talking with our other national regional partner, Gabby. It's like, how do we work together to create more opportunities, more collegiate chapters, right? So we're actually working together on growing the organization to provide the additional benefits. So if you guys get a chance, the audience that's listening, please connect in our social media pages through Mana the Imperial. You can look at Imperial Valley and check all the organizations that you can volunteer, get involved, donate, and all these benefits goes to the communities that really do need it. So we do have Mana National, that's on the hermana.org, where you can find local chapters. But part of this platform is to showcase the work that the organization does. And a lot of the women that you're going to hear in our episodes.
And that's what's important. The footprint that we leave behind is in that family. We're empowering the parents to understand as we're helping their son or their daughter navigate the college process. And then in addition to that, we're helping with
Mhm.
the opportunity to apply for a scholarship. I think the greatest moment for me is when that student receives that scholarship. Many times it's like, Señora Marta, muchas gracias. Mi hijo, mi hija, qué bárbaro, muy dedicado a su educación y para él o para ella es un
Mhm.
gran premio saber que ustedes creen en mi hijo, en mi hija, que tenga la habilidad. And those are the conversations that fuel me because they remind me that the work that we're doing is making an impact for the entire family. And
Mhm.
once that first, child or, family member goes to college, it makes it easier for the next,
Mhm.
sibling or the next cousin or the other family member. And sometimes even in the conversation, we'll find that the parent gets inspired. And so now they're going to do an ESL class, and so they're going to do that, or they're going to do a certificate program that can help upskill or retool their ability, for employment. And I think that's when, for me,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
makes it all work. So when we read the scholarship application, absolutely. Are we looking at academics? Absolutely. But we're also looking at the responsibilities. And so maybe she doesn't participate in 10 service
Yeah.
clubs or after school programs. She's not, because she has greater responsibilities. And those are the responsibilities to her siblings or to her home. And this MANA scholarship application looks at it from the lens of value and worth that that individual
Mhm.
has to their community or to their family. And I think that that's what makes us different, because we're able to understand that we're looking at all the responsibilities that she might carry, or
Mhm.
he, at doctor's appointments with them. That's a huge responsibility, or at parent teacher conferences, or when my mother had, to go to a meeting, and I was that translator, and I'm 8 or 9 years old, and trying to explain and comprehend at the same time. And so I think that for many of us, we had a lot of responsibility that was put on us. And so sometimes, not in a good or a bad way, we
Mhm.
didn't get to experience that childhood. And that's okay. But there is, I no lo reclamo. If anything, I understand that I had a responsibility and a role that I had in my family, and I did the best that I could. And that's why I think it's important now as an adult to say, it's okay. It's okay that it's not always perfect. It's okay that it's not always
Yeah.
easy. And sometimes it's okay that, it's not maybe the way that we wanted it or intended it to be. And that's okay too. It's just we're doing the best we
Mhm.
can. I think our parents are doing the best they can survive and to provide and to nourish and to give the best that they can with no fault. And so sometimes we too filled in those gaps where we had to make sure that our family was still up and running, whether that was the responsibility of being the translator or taking care of our younger siblings or having to work really young to be able to bring in, financial contributions to the family. We all did it with the best intention. There's no blame or shame in the childhood or the upbringing that we had. It's only to really share it. And if someone else is living in those same circumstances, to have empathy and to also provide that support and guidance. Because I speak to parents all the time and they're like, ayuda aquí mucho en la casa, but and it comes with pride and it comes with sometimes even guilt. And I said, we do the best we can. Adelante. And sometimes those words are so powerful. You know what it's like to have food insecurities. You know what it's like to have insecurities about the texture of your hair, the color of your hair, the color skin, if you have an accent, what that accent is like, because what happens is they might only see the final result. And so I think that that's really important. One, it shows, right, that with perseverance, with resiliency, and with a plan, because you do have to have a plan about where you're going to go and what you aspire to be. And then in addition to
Mhm.
that, the vulnerability to say, it's okay to feel those insecurities. It's okay to feel, at times maybe less than, but know that you're not. Know that you're not because you bring great value. And the value that you bring is, you're a hardworking young lady. Your academics are important to you. Your family values are important to you. You contribute to your family, all those things that many times we may not hear validation, specifically maybe from that family member that we want to hear it from, but we might get it from a grandmother or an aunt or a nina that has those conversations with us. And so I think that's important too, to share our
Mhm.
story and to know that there is hope and there is opportunity, and that at one point in our life, we can take control of what our future can look like, whether that's investing in ourselves, whether that's healing ourselves, whatever that process might be, that we can get to a point where we are comfortable with the color of our skin,
Mhm.
the texture of our hair,
Mhm.
our accent, or our physical attributes. It comes with accept and that you are enough. So I think it's important that we do develop healthy relationships, whether that's like I've mentioned, an individual in your life that you feel safe and comfortable with and will provide you with love, guidance, and support, because it can be very heavy and you can feel very lonely and you can feel that you're carrying a huge weight. And I think we're not taught that. We're taught to keep everything inside and you don't share anything with anyone and you carry it alone. And sometimes, when you have a very young mind, whether, you're 10, 13, 16, 19, or, 30 or 50 or 70, sometimes we just need to be able just to share what we're feeling and have those conversations. And I think if there was any advice, find that safe person that you could find that have those conversations that can just really give you an opportunity to one, la palabra deshogarnos, no?
Yeah.
And that can really say, you know what,
Mhm.
I hear what you're saying, to validate that. And maybe here are some opportunities for you to take a look at X, Y, or Z, because when you're in it, it's very heavy and maybe sometimes even feeling a little hopeless. And so it's important build those relationships with who you feel a
Mhm.
connection to and who can really care for you as an individual.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What motivates me is when I have discussions with, community members and they feel disenfranchised. Also, really reflect on what's being shared with me. And maybe I am or I'm not experiencing, what's being shared with me, but that individual sharing that hardship. And so what motivates me is to look for funding, to really advocate whether that we're dealing with individuals who are having to pay really expensive rents because that's just where we are, or in our economy, or maybe someone who recently, may
Mhm.
have lost a job. And so they're very fearful about how are they going to be able to provide for their family. And then I'm taking a look at where can we connect this family to make sure that, that they have a roof over their head and that they're not experiencing food insecurity. So what motivates me is to be an individual that knows about the resources and the programs or that are available in my community, and then I can connect them because we can feel so overwhelmed with the circumstance that we're dealing with. Family members
Mhm.
share with me, unfortunately, whether they don't have medical insurance. And so, kids aren't seeing the doctor in time, or even the adult isn't seeing the doctor in time and, may be experiencing a medical emergency because they didn't seek the help earlier. And that's the part that breaks my heart. So, my motivation is to be very knowledgeable about programs and grants or opportunities that can connect and link families when they're very vulnerable. I did not get elected to be quiet, and I didn't get elected to not take this opportunity to advocate for my community. And so, yeah, sometimes I stand alone, but I stand firm on my convictions of what I promised that I would do. So the good thing is that, God built us tough. And I mean tough because we've, had to overcome a lot, but that's okay. I didn't get elected to make, friends with my colleagues. I got elected to make decisions that could benefit my community, even when it's hard.
And you're doing a great job because you're breaking those barriers and you're opening the doors. And then you're doing it with your beautiful smile, no nonsense kind of attitude. You know what I mean? So to know you is to love you because, like, you share those messages with me when I sat with you. And it's like you've had to basically, you don't have to prove anything to anybody because you're an elected official. But sometimes being in those roles, you're treated like, like you got that job, out of the blues, right? They don't look at the fact that you've been doing the work, that whatever someone did, you had to work twice as hard to get where you're at. It's not given to you. And by doing that, they're trying to diminish the work that you do. And that's kind of the message that I want to make sure the girls understand, that sometimes they're gonna be tough challenges ahead of them, right? But they're not doing it alone. The nurses say, how do you overcome that and get the support, from each other because we're here to support. So I think you set the tone with that when you were having the conversation with me. I'm like, wow, that's pretty badass.
Unfortunately, some of those exclusions, they still exist. And so we can't change that mean girl mentality, with some individuals. So I give it no energy. I move on and I use my energy to make a difference. So I'll form my own table and I'll invite everyone is welcome to have that discussion. And I think that we have to be realistic as well. Just because you're sitting at the table doesn't mean you're always invited or welcome.
Yeah.
Justice, whether that is taking a look at safety, equity, education advancement. And so I'm so excited about having this opportunity of meeting women from other countries, around the world that may be experiencing the same issues or even more severe issues, and how we come together and find commonality. So really excited about that. I'll be flying out March the 8th. I'll be there for a week. Really excited about taking that opportunity to have that discussion. And so just proud to represent, my community and
Hmm.
my country and to, yeah, absolutely. And, at the same time, it's very alarming that, women around the world may have more or less, advantages in their country, and to hear how they're so powerful and resilient of what they're doing to change those laws or the norms in their
Nice.
country, and to really just be empowered by other women who may be experiencing the same issues that many of us women experience.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, first, congratulations. That's awesome. That's incredible. So I'm proud of you. Congratulations. I know there's a lot of things happening. We have a big year ahead of us. Part of the excitement when we were working together is like we have a lot. We got our sworn in last week for me for my second term, and you're still on your first term, and having new members and the things we want to accomplish, right? Because we are really excited in the work that we do, and this is a labor of love for all of us because it's all volunteer work. And the things that we're doing, to bring those support systems, those benefits into our communities, whether we do it on our own or through the organizations that we support. And I'm just honored that I'm part of the organization that we are both part of. And I want to see what we can do together to grow and take this to the next level. So I'm excited. I really am. I think this is what's keeping me motivated with everything that I got going on. And I have to thank you because you inspire me, and I still hear your voice from that October weekend we had. And we're like, yeah, Martha put this on me. I came back and I'm like, how do I learn this? And here I am, got this going and it's growing, and I'm so grateful. Thank God. So I want to say thank you, Manita, for showing up today and supporting our inner journey, for encouraging me to start this project and highlighting all the incredible women like you in this platform, and for making time for me today. So I know you have a very busy schedule, so I appreciate you for doing that. Thank you to our listeners and for holding space for me. I'm Maria Benitez, and this is our journey together. Until next time. Thank you, Manita. Te quiero mucho. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for holding space for me. And thank you for allowing me to walk beside you as you heal your inner niña. Until next time, please don't forget to follow and subscribe.